Mike.
I'm glad y'all didn't hear this.
I hope not.
I hope
We
not
leaned into the
too.
show.
Good day to everybody. I'm Andy Devin. I'm your host this week for Political Smackdown. We've got everybody here this week. Betsy's come back. We're gonna have to cut out some of your vacation. You're getting way too much vacation time. But I got Mike and Wes with us also. So let's go ahead and get into it. This past week, we lost a true lion of the Senate when Lindsey Graham passed away unexpectedly at the age of 71. He, for years, helped shape foreign policy of this country. He was the face of our country in a lot of foreign countries. He has always been involved, especially with a lot of Supreme Court nominees. He has always been in the middle of it. Some people say even when he ran against Trump for president that at least he stood out and then he become one of his best buddies. Some people would probably say he sold out, but I think really and truly when you get down to it, he just wanted to be in a position where he could have some influence. Wes, start us off on this.
Well, lion may be the right word in this case. You know, he was the antithesis of walk softly and carry a big stick. He never met a camera he didn't like. He was, as you mentioned, very anti-Trump. In fact, he called Trump a race-baiting, xenophobic religious bigot during the primaries in 2016. But I think he was a true public servant. Mike, we talked this morning. He apparently did not enrich himself in any way, lived very modestly, didn't take advantage of the positions that he held. But Andy, he was clearly an interventionist. He was a hawk. I do think the biggest advantages that he brought to Trump after they became friends, I think he moderated Trump's isolationism, which I think was generally a good thing, except for maybe being a little bit too hawkish with the sword. But I think we've got, aside from the obvious loss, Mike, I think you're going to discuss the Supreme Court a little bit more in depth. But, you know, Graham's support of Ukraine, I think, has been significant. The vice president does not want to continue that support. Graham is the one that has continued to push Trump to support Ukraine. And, of course, Graham's overt support of Netanyahu and Israel. And those two things are lost at, I think, maybe critical times for both Israel and the war there and what Ukraine's trying to do to preserve their freedom.
Well, it really is a loss because he had just gotten back from the Ukraine. And, you know, Betsy, he's such a fascinating guy when you learn a little bit. Do you know on Meet the Press, he had the second most visits there, except John McCain was first. Is that not something? It was like,
is.
And he was scheduled this past Sunday when he passed away. So what's your thoughts on this gentleman?
Well, he's right down the road from where I could step over the line almost to be in South Carolina. And I always hear a lot about Lindsey Graham. But, you know, I think back to his relationship with John McCain, and they certainly seemed to temper each other. And I think that after John died, that Lindsey, I don't know what John McCain would have done with the way that Trump came in on the second term. But it's sad. I mean, he never married, but he did raise his sister, even to the point of adopting her. So when he was a JAG officer overseas, and has always been close with her and her family. We were on different political poles, but I admire him, and he was a funny man. I always looked forward to hearing the jokes that he'd come up with off the top of his head. But I think South Carolina has lost a great senator.
Well, and they have temporarily sworn in his sister to fill his spot. There's still some discussion whether she might run for it when they have a special primary in August. I really don't know. She has never been involved in politics except with her brother.
That's right.
So she's not a political person by any stretch of imagination. Mike?
Well, Lindsey Graham was first elected to the U.S. House in 1994 and was a part of the Republican landslide that gave him the first House majority in over 40 years, if you remember. He served there for 8 years, and then in 2002, he ran for Strom Thurmond's seat. Don't forget that he replaced an icon. He had to fill some really big shoes in South Carolina. He's always been known for his independence. He's an independent thinker. He was with the Republicans that 80% of the time, but some of the time he would take a stand on his own. He ran for president, as Wes mentioned, in 2016. I met him here at the community college, well, actually at the New LeGrand Center in 16, when he came here for a function that was put on. Only time I ever met the gentleman. He's a pretty small fella. He wasn't a big guy. But a couple of things stick out in my mind about his independence. In 2010, when it still took 60 votes to get confirmed to the Senate, because the filibuster rule was still in effect for Supreme Court appointments, he was one of 5 people that were Republicans that voted for Elena Kagan, and she only won 63 to 37 to get confirmed, with 5 GOP yes votes and 1 no vote from a Democrat, which was Ben Nelson, a conservative pro-life from Nebraska at the time. And I want to play a clip here that I found that is the moment when Elena Kagan says that Lindsey Graham was responsible for her getting confirmed to the Supreme Court.
As we move forward and deal with law of war issues, Christmas Day bomber, where are you at on Christmas Day?
Senator Graham, that is an undecided legal issue, which, well, I suppose I should ask exactly what you mean by that. I'm assuming that the question you mean is whether a person who was apprehended in the United States is...
No, I just asked you where you're at on Christmas.
You know, like all Jews, I was probably at a Chinese restaurant.
Great answer. Great answer.
You know, I could almost see that one coming, and I thought,
Yeah. Me too. So you were celebrating
Senator Schumer explained this to me earlier.
Yeah, he did.
If I might, no other restaurants are open.
Right. You were with your family on Christmas Day at a Chinese restaurant. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
Well, as you can see, that was quite an exchange. And this week, when Elena Kagan went before before the Congress with a committee meeting to present the Supreme Court's budget request for next year, she took a few minutes and she mentions that moment. You might want to find that and watch it. But without the support of Lindsey Graham, she probably would not have been appointed to confirmed for the Supreme Court. She saw that as a turning point. And then I'll mention one local thing that without Lindsey Graham, I'm absolutely convinced would not be in Cleveland County, and that's the casino. The group from here that went to the Department of the Interior and the Bureau of Indian Affairs said they were told very early that unless you get the support of all 4 senators from North and South Carolina, you'll never get this through the Congress. And Lindsey Graham was who they went to first. He bought into it, and Lindsey is the one that sold Tim Scott, Burr, and Tillis in North Carolina on support. And so whatever you think about it, there's a lot of economic development in Cleveland County that Lindsey Graham, the South Carolina senator, was responsible for. A lot of other things we could talk about Mr. Graham, but he was an independent person, and he's had heart disease for some time and known it. And he talked about he was coming back from Ukraine, just got back and was going to be on Meet the Press the next morning. And from what I can gather, he wanted to wait till after he did that Meet the Press before he went to the doctor about these pains. But it was the kind of thing that couldn't wait that long, and so he died suddenly.
Well, that's a sad ending to a life of service, and it's a loss for all of us. And I wish his sister well. I'm sure she will do a very good job. She's going to keep all the senator's staff, and that will help her tremendously.
Well, she's off to a good start because the women on The View, that far left group of women, they said she's a DEI appointment, and they were critical of it, so I think she's off to a good start.
Oh, listening to you. Oh, listening to you.
Yeah,
we have not mentioned, what does this do to South Carolina now? You know, before,
We're about
his
to have a
seat
free-for-all.
was a shoe-in for President Trump. Now it's going to be wide open for the Senate election.
and that's going to be hurt Trump also because he has been pushing a lot of stuff for the president.
Well, one of the things that is true is if you voted in the Democratic primary in June in South Carolina, you cannot vote in this upcoming primary. So only those that voted in the Republican primary or did not vote can vote on August 11th. So you will get the top red candidate in the view of those people, probably with a runoff if 4 or 5 run. But it's still a deep red state, and I think whoever the Republican is will win.
Yeah,
Wes, did you have anything to add to
I
that?
agree completely. Thank you,
All
Mike.
righty. Well, let's move on to the next one, a little bit about our fine state. As a lot of you may or may not know, CNBC Financial Network has for a number of years has been rating the most business-friendly states in the country, ranking them all the way from 1 to 50. North Carolina has been at the top spot off and on, swapping with Virginia for quite some time. I can remember the last time we got this, Roy Cooper was governor, and they did the interview at Biltmore House. I thought that was neat, and it really was a good interview, I thought, and told a lot about North Carolina. But you're not going to believe who's number 1 this year. Ohio, the belt on the Rust Belt. Can you only imagine why in the world a place like that has knocked us out? Mike, I mean, this is really a hard thing to figure out. I mean, we've always, I thought, were more proactive on this type of thing than Ohio's been.
Well, first, let's not forget that we were still number 2, which
Yes,
means we were more business friendly than 48 other states using the criteria CNBC uses.
And it happens whether a Republican is in or a Democrat in the governorship.
But one of the things I noted in reading some of the press releases and things I saw about it is that Ohio has made a lot of progress in getting shovel-ready sites for industry. Now in Cleveland County, we've done a lot of that, even to the point of building spec buildings that are adaptable and can be added onto, and have had a good bit of success with that. But I think the one thing we might want to work on around the state is to make sure we have more shovel-ready sites to attract new industry if we want to get back to number 1. But kudos to Ohio, as you call it, the belt on the Rust Belt. That's a pretty good way of looking at it. But congratulations to them. But still, congratulations to North Carolina for being number 2.
Folks, we're going to go to a break just a little early because we want to hear what Betsy and Wes has to say about this very important question. We'll be right back.
This is the place that I was able to go forth with my education. I've been to different places. I've tried to do this a few times and I wasn't able to get my GED until I came here again, and now I succeeded. I thought it was going to take me 2 years, 2 to 3 years, yes. It took me 3 to 4 months.
And welcome back to Political Smackdown. All right, Betsy, we were talking about Ohio taking our spot from us. They came from basically nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, has anybody heard that gnashing of teeth that's coming from the General Assembly and from Phil Berger's office? Since we dropped from first place to second place, what's going to happen? What bills is he going to introduce to take away taxes for people, for businesses before he leaves? You're right, though. Second place it was only 9 points different. That North Carolina lost by 9 points out of 2,500. And second place is a good spot, but I just, I know that, and it's still a good that we can brag about. It is.
Well, and it's been that way for a number of years. Site Selection magazine that industrial recruiters take has consistently for, over 30 years, has had us at one of the top business-friendly states for people to come in and build. But, it's interesting to know, Wes, do you have any idea who is 50?
No.
Hawaii. I guess they can't have everything.
Yeah. Well, to answer Betsy's question, Betsy, this budget that was just passed put in, I think it was right at $200 million for these shovel-ready projects. So the gnashing of teeth was with the Democrats to get these projects in place, if there was any gnashing of teeth. So I think Berger has shown great foresight as the House in that. But Andy, these surveys, I think, are good indicators. I think they're positive, but they're sort of like polls. The poll that you see on TV is one thing, but what happens when you get into those crosstabs? That's when you really find out something. This uses 10 categories that are weighted differently, largely based on each state's self-promotion of their industry, what they're pushing. So this year, infrastructure carried 18% of the total points overall. We dropped 2 points in infrastructure. Ohio obviously went up. The economy is a portion of that. I think it's 11% of this. We actually increased from third in the country to first in the country. So there's a lot of factors that come into play. Interesting, the quality of life carries about 11.5% of the score. Now this is something that changes, as do all, but this one changed and is negatively impacted this year by things like the bathroom bill, by a low minimum wage, but it's not impacted by high taxes or the cost of living. So in this same ranking, while we were second for business, the 10 states that were ranked the worst to live were all Republican states, in part because they are far more conservative, have low taxes, etc. And many of those 10 states lead the nation in incoming migration. People are leaving California, New York. We've talked about this. They're coming to these red states. So I think the takeaway from this, regardless of where we rank or Ohio ranks, the government needs to provide the infrastructure. That's the proper role of government. They need to keep taxes and interference low, and people are going to vote with their feet, and they're voting for these things. Shovel-ready projects are a big part of it, and North Carolina's prepared moving forward to maintain that top 1 or 2 or 3 positions for years to come, I think.
Well, and we've also done a lot of work with the electricity producer, be it Duke or whoever, that has really built out our grid in so many ways that they can handle, some big folks. But even more so, I think, is that natural gas has been expanded pretty much all over the state now. So, I mean, it's just so many things, and then education system. The one thing I was a little bit surprised at is, as we are a right-to-work state, and I do not think Ohio is, I think that they are a pretty unionized state, if I remember correctly. So that kind of surprised me that didn't enter into this in some way.
Well, and I guess that's the point. These things are weighted in a way that you get the outcome sometimes that you're looking for. And I think we've got to take all these, whether it's good for North Carolina, bad for North Carolina, in the rankings, you've got to take all of it with a grain of salt. You got to look at how they're developed and then make the assessment.
But it does give you some idea of the yardstick where we rank. So we're still in the top tier.
And I think it's a positive thing. Don't misunderstand.
Oh, I think it absolutely is. So, I just say thanks to everybody around that has been involved in all these, because it's all a statewide thing. It's a push by all of us, all 100 counties, because it just can't, it takes a village,
Yep.
basically. So anyway, well, we'll see what happens with that as we move along. All right, folks, let's go on to our next question. It's a rather interesting problem we have, and I'd like to thank Chuck Thompson over at Shelby Independent to let me use the article. It was talking about a cat issue we got. Is that not something, Betsy? We have a cat issue in this state with feral, or this county with feral cats. And it seems like that we have a program, which I wasn't aware of, that was spaying and neutering to try to do something about this, and it's become kind of a blow up all of a sudden. So
Well-
tell us what you know about it.
Remember where I live. I live out on Dixon School Road, which is out in the country, a mile and a half below the new casino. And my husband used to say, there's a sign on our mailbox, drop animals here. And, you know, cats and dogs over the years have been dropped off out in the country. And I made the mistake a few years ago of taking in this, I thought was a male cat. It was so big, but it turned out to be a female cat, and she had like 3 litters of kittens in the first year. And I turned to the Animal Welfare Association, run by Allison Steele and Sherry Crowder, and they helped me. Sherry even came out with the trap to trap some of the ones that was so wild, the father of these kittens particularly, and we took them down to Spartanburg to be fixed, as so to say. So I know that they didn't do it at the animal shelter at that time. So at least they're trying to get a program going where it's like where you trap them and you keep them, then you let them go, release them, and you have to pick them up that day. But there is a major problem in our county about feral cats, and so I hope this works. Now I think from what the article said, some people think it'll be a hardship on older people to be able, they won't come and, you know, you have to rent the traps from them. Where before Sherry just brought me a trap and set it up. So it's a step in the right direction, and we do need to do something about cats. I think they're as prolific as rabbits.
I think so too. Well, Wes, it seems like there was a lady that was hired to help facilitate this, and there were some changes that had been put forth with this program, and she just wasn't acceptable to her, and she quit. You know, it's a big enough problem that you have to have somebody doing it. I mean, I think they were going to move her to a part-time position or something like that.
Well, as my understanding, she was part-time, although she was putting in full-time hours from what I've understood. And I also have understood she has been a part of having roughly 5,000 cats spayed and neutered since that program started in 2000. Herculean effort. There's no question about that, and kudos to her and others who were out helping. But even with that sort of effort, it hadn't solved the problem. We've still got a problem with feral cats. And so after 6 years, the commissioners are going to try something different. Good for them. Let's see if we can do something even better. This may not be a perfect solution either. I'll almost guarantee that it won't be a perfect solution, because there is no perfect solution to this. And the reality, government is never going to find a perfect solution. It's rarely going to even be a solution at any price. And the reality, feral cats are not a problem in Cleveland County. They're a problem in America. They're a bigger problem worldwide. It's a major problem in Europe, even with all the government programs and everything else they have there. Nobody's figured it out. One of the problems is there's not enough data to know how well these TNR programs work. Some studies indicate that they work well, but there are at least as many studies that indicate the cats reproduce, Betsy, like you mentioned, so quickly.
So quickly.
The TNR doesn't really make a dent in the feral population. But Andy, what we do know is that private organizations traditionally have done better than government programs at virtually everything. And those private organizations need our support. And Ms. Freeman that's mentioned in this article, we've got at least one county commissioner we know is very passionate about this. These efforts need our support, especially if we share that passion. We can be a part of some solution. And if you're passionate about this, I think you need to volunteer your time. I think you need to open up your checkbook and give money to these groups, and let's be a part of a solution. But at the end of the day, regardless of what you and I can do individually with these TNR programs, Mike, if you feed a cat, it's your responsibility. Take it, get it spayed, get it neutered, and get it vaccinated. And that's going to go as far as anything.
That's true. Mike?
Well, Tammy Freeman, who's also very involved with Clifford's Army, which is private 501c3, got this job about 6 years ago from Brian Epley, is my understanding, and he pretty much turned her loose and told her to go get all this done, and she's done, as Wes said, several thousand have been spayed and neutered. But we now have a new director at Animal Control in Cleveland County, and they wanted more tracking of where they were coming from, and there's even some concern that maybe some were spending Cleveland County tax dollars and people were bringing them in here from out of county. So this new director wants more control and better record keeping and trying to get a track on it. And Tammy is used to doing as Tammy has done for 6 years of she gets the calls, she goes and gets it took care of. And so there's a philosophical difference here is what's going on. And we'll just have to see if it works what they're doing. And I understand Tammy is already doing the same thing already for a private nonprofit, doing the same thing she's been doing. So I guess the only thing I'd say I hope is, I hope the new method of taking care of the feral cats works better than the stickers did we had to carry to the recycling place for a couple years.
Amen. Amen.
And the program is trap, vaccinate, and release. And so
Trap, neuter, and release.
trap,
and
neuter,
they're vaccinated while they're
vaccination,
there.
and
yeah.
release.
Because we
And
do have
they-
had some rabies problems in
and
the
they
county
do
with
give them shots
skunks.
for rabies too.
So that
Yes, you're
helps
right.
out. So
it's a problem.
It really is, and this organization has really, she has tried to do all she can do, now doing it privately. Tammy, we appreciate all your work you've done. You've done a
Absolutely.
great job.
And having had all these litters of kittens, I know that people are really, they love cats, but nobody wants to take one home with them.
I see.
So you're on your own.
All righty, we're on to the lightning round. Betsy, start us off.
Well, as we sit here today, Todd Blanche is before the Judiciary Committee in Washington being grilled. He is going to be, he's the acting Attorney General, and President Trump has appointed him. And so, and he has said that he would be separate from from President Trump, that he could make his own decisions. He apologized yesterday to the victims of the Epstein files, and we'll just see what happens. And I would like to think that he would be an independent Attorney General from what the past one was.
Mike?
Well, Andy, stuck in the North Carolina budget that just passed, there's a lot of things we hadn't talked about. Here's one. The budget mandates every public school district in North Carolina to establish an 11-member community media advisory committee to evaluate written challenges claiming materials are obscene or inappropriate. You want to be a part of that committee?
I think I'll pass. All right, Wes, I know you want to probably get on that committee, so.
Well, yeah, right. Well, there's a new book coming out this fall titled Promise Me America. This is the first book written by an auto pen.
Oh,
Just in time for the November elections, the book will be a reminder of the disastrous policies of the previous administration. Jill and Hunter Biden are the only pre-orders so far, but I'm sure that this is going to be a bestseller to help finance the Joe Biden Library.
On that positive note, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for coming. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back again next week with a new edition of Political Smackdown.